Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. I'm Pivramax Channel, and today we're diving into a topic that's wild, literally. We're talking about how to talk to animals and plants. Yep, you heard me right. No, this isn't a Disney movie, but hey, maybe we can all become modern-day Dr. Doolittles by the end of this episode. So, have you ever looked at your dog and thought, what on earth are you trying to tell me with that bark? Or maybe you've whispered sweet nothings to your houseplant, hoping it'll grow faster. Well, guess what? Science is actually exploring how we can communicate with animals and plants. And no, I'm not talking about magic spells or fairy dust, though that would be way cooler, right? Alright, let's get into it. But first, let me ask you guys, if you could talk to any animal or plant, what would it be? Comment below or tweet me. I'd personally love to chat with my cat, Mr. Whiskers, because he clearly has opinions about my singing in the shower. Okay, so let's start with animals. Did you know that some animals actually have their own languages, like dolphins have names for each other? How cool is that? And bees. They do this little waggle dance to tell their hive mates where the best flowers are. I mean, if I could do a dance to tell my friends where the nearest coffee shop is, I'd be the most popular person in town. But here's the thing. Scientists are now using AI and machine learning to decode animal sounds and behaviors. For example, there's this project called the Earth Species Project that's trying to translate animal communication into something humans can understand. Imagine being able to ask your dog, "Why do you bark at the mailman?" And he actually answers, "Because he's clearly a spy." Now, I know what you're thinking, but how do I start talking to my pet? Well, here's a fun tip. Pay attention to their body language and sounds. For example, if your cat's tail is puffed up, it's probably saying, "Back off, human." And if your dog is wagging its tail, it's like, "Hey, you're my favorite person in the whole world." But let's be real. Sometimes we just pretend we know what they're saying. Like, when my cat meows at 3 a.m., I'm like, "Oh, you must be hungry." But deep down, I know he's probably saying, "Why are you still single? Get your life together." Speaking of talking to animals, did you know that some animals can actually understand human language? For example, there's a famous border collie named Chaser who learned over 1,000 words. That's more than some humans I know, no offense. And let's not forget about parrots. These colorful birds can mimic human speech so well, it's almost like having a tiny feathery roommate who loves to repeat everything you say. Imagine having a parrot that says "good morning" every day. So wholesome, right? But then again, it might also say, "Why are you still in your pajamas?" And honestly, I don't need that kind of negativity in my life. Oh, and here's a fun fact. Some researchers believe that elephants can communicate with humans through body language. They've even been known to paint pictures. I don't know about you, but if an elephant ever painted my portrait, I'd frame it and hang it in my living room. Move over, Picasso. All right, now let's move on to plants. Yes, plants. Because apparently they're not just sitting there looking pretty, they're actually communicating too. I know, mind blown, right? So, plants don't have mouths or voices, but they do talk through chemicals and vibrations. For example, when a plant is being attacked by insects, it releases chemicals to warn nearby plants. It's like their version of texting. "Hey, there's a bug invasion happening over here, brace yourselves." And get this. Some studies suggest that talking to your plants can actually help them grow. Now, I don't know if it's the sound of your voice or the carbon dioxide you're breathing out, but hey, if it works, it works. Personally, I like to sing to my plants. They haven't died yet, so I'm taking that as a win. But here's the real question. What do you even say to a plant? Like, do you compliment it? "Hey Fern, your leaves are looking extra green today." Or do you give it life advice? "Listen, cactus, you're a bit prickly. Maybe work on that." Honestly, I think my plants are judging me. Every time I forget to water them, I can almost hear them saying, "You had one job." Now let's get back to plants. Did you know that some plants can hear? Yes, you heard me right. Hear. There's this study that found plants can respond to the sound of chewing insects. It's like they have their own little alarm system. Warning, warning, caterpillar at 3 o'clock. And here's another crazy thing. Some plants can even talk to each other through underground fungal networks. Scientists call it the Wood Wide Web. It's like Facebook for plants, but without the annoying ads. They share nutrients, warn each other about dangers, and maybe even gossip about us humans. Did you see how much water she poured on me today? So extra. Oh, and if you're thinking, but how do I know if my plant is happy? Well, here's a tip. If your plant is growing and looking healthy, it's probably saying, "Thank you, human." But if it's wilting or turning yellow, it's probably like, "Help, I'm either drowning or dying of thirst. Figure it out." Okay, so now that we know animals and plants can talk, let's have some fun. Here's a challenge for you. Try talking to your pet or plant today and see what happens. Maybe your dog will finally explain why it eats socks, or maybe your plant will grow a new leaf just to say thank you. And hey, if you're feeling extra adventurous, try singing to your plants. Who knows? You might discover you're the next Beyoncé of the plant world. Just don't blame me if your neighbors start giving you weird looks. All right, everyone, we've reached the end of today's episode, and I hope you're leaving with a newfound appreciation for the secret languages of animals and plants. Whether it's your dog's wagging tail, your cat's mysterious meows, or your plant's subtle way of saying, "Water me, please," there's a whole world of communication happening right under our noses. Before we go, I want to leave you with this thought. What if we're not the only ones trying to communicate? What if animals and plants are constantly sending us messages and we're just not tuned in yet? Maybe one day we'll crack the code and finally understand what they're saying. Until then, let's keep listening, observing, and maybe even talking back. Who knows? You might just discover something amazing. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you have any funny stories about talking to your pets or plants, send them my way. I'd love to hear them.